Welcome everybody back to Gonzo Film Reviews. We have a stacked episode for you this time. I'm going to be going over the updates that I gave you months ago that have finally come to fruition. There is a new Twitter, Twitter 2.0, I would say,
Oh boy.
and we're also going to cover some Indiana Jones 5 news for you because that's popping off for the first time in a year.
I wish I could be excited.
Me too. There's a lot to uncover
Lot to
there.
unpack.
And there are some tweets by the director James Mangold that I'm going to go over, but I don't trust most of what he says, just given the simple fact that filmmakers lie. Especially if leaks actually happen, they'll say the opposite is true, just so that they can, try to keep it a surprise as much as possible. But everything that has been coming together in the media and in leakers about this movie has been a bit of a disaster, but we'll get to that. There's always the number one culprit there. We know who that is.
Yeah, I don't
She
even think
who
we
now-
really need to say it.
She who must not be named.
Yeah, I have endless rants I could do about her, but
We'll do that
that's for another
towards
time.
the end.
Yeah.
And then the film The Menu. We both saw it.
Oh, fantastic.
We're going to review that one for you because it's
Oh, yeah.
at the end of this.
That was a trip.
It was great.
Probably the smartest main character in the last collection of movies I've watched.
And I will say that I can't think of any other food movie that was as
Mm.
interesting as this one.
Yeah.
I've
One that-
watched some food movies, but they're never really that special.
It keeps your attention. Like
Yeah.
I don't remember one time wondering like how far along in the movie are we?
No. And then and I also love how the food snobs, they all got killed by the end.
It was
Or
nice.
they met a fate that wasn't, it was less than perfect.
Yeah.
So usually with these kind of movies, there's like the snobs, and they think, oh, we got to educate this stupid audience about this topic. No, it was like all the snobs actually got their shit kicked in.
Yeah.
It was great.
It was very nice. It was a lot of I guess it was a story that we were kind of thrown into the middle of. We didn't really get much of a context when the movie started, but it still did an effective job of showing you exactly what was going on and giving you the feeling of like, oh, okay, not everything is the way that it seems right now. Which is one of my favorite things. I mean, you really look at that movie, and even in the trailers for it, it shows great interest. I think
I
Not
saw
once.
trailers for it too, and
Yeah.
it made me want to see it.
Yeah, it
which
really
is
did.
good.
I think it was a really good time. I believe that watching it was really worth it. I think a lot of people could take notes from the writing too, because they left a lot blank for you to kind of interpret on your own, but at
Yeah.
the same time, they gave you just enough information to not, go too far ahead or dig too far behind. There was always new things to take in, and honestly, I'm really surprised that so far the movie hasn't gotten a super high rating.
It did well in Rotten Tomatoes. It seemed to be pretty well loved. There was an 88%, even maybe as high as 90% rating for that one. I usually don't follow, very closely what Rotten Tomato ratings are because they tend to be the opposite of how the film actually turns out.
Yeah.
But for this one, it actually 89% for the critics. The more important one though is the audience score, and about 500 people rated it as about 79%. And I think it's a little low, but it's still up there.
Yeah, I'd say it was a little low. Maybe they're just not foodies.
Critics' consensus was while its social commentary relies on basic ingredients, which honestly I would agree with that. That's
Yeah.
one of the things I had. The menu serves up black comedy, true, with plenty of flavor. Yes.
Mhm, I agree.
I think that was the only slight shortcoming of the film was that they seemed like they wanted to say something, but they left out or ended up cutting for time some of the things that they set up with the characters that were there
Yeah.
and why they were there. But we got a good bit of information from about 3 of the groups
Yeah.
and 1 of the pairs. There was just a few people in there that made no sense,
Yeah.
but I'm sure that that's probably just some kind of mistake that ended up on the cutting room floor. They didn't want it to be a 2.5 hour, 3 hour long movie.
No,
But-
but I also like that you can tell right off the bat, though, that each of the characters, even the ones that weren't really like expanded upon, had like a past and had a reason for being there, even if they didn't delve into it too much. Like everybody was important in their own way, even when the spotlight didn't really shine on them.
Yeah, they
It was
had
nice.
depths. It was just nice.
Yeah, they weren't 2D characters.
His whole staff, I would say, was also excellent because
Oh yeah, absolutely.
the only one that really needed to be 3D was his partner. I think her name is Elsa,
Yeah, the head waitress.
the head waitress. All the other ones, they were understandably kind of zombie-like,
Mm.
and they saw themselves as lesser than, and they acted like it. They acted like soldiers in the military.
Very uniform.
Yeah. So, but she was 3D, and it was very nice to have another deep character.
Absolutely.
Anya Taylor-Joy was great. Ralph Fiennes was amazing, and then all the other secondary characters, they had a lot of humanity in them and a lot of life,
Absolutely.
which was very fun to watch. I would say that what was your feeling on the tension level? Because I was feeling more of a. I think the most anxiety I got was that I ate too many donuts that morning.
Oh my god. Yeah, no,
it was good, but
I'm gonna drink some water and then I'm gonna answer that question.
I liked it, but I feel like it wasn't aiming to be
Yeah.
a thriller or a horror movie. It was aiming more to be a black comedy.
Oh yeah. I believe that there wasn't exactly like present tension at all times or anything like that, but there was a constant mystery. The whole time I was just dying to figure out, like, I want to know more about this chef. Like, why is he doing it? Like, the whole time I sat there and really could not pull myself away from that character and what drives him to do what he was doing. And it's such an elaborate thing that he had going on. And honestly, it made me respect him to a certain degree, not to like raise the hairs on the back of your neck or anything, but it made me respect him to a certain degree simply because he recognized that she didn't belong there. And he was like, shit, you're not supposed to be here.
Yeah, this night was meticulously planned down to the last eyebrow.
Yeah.
So
he was like, you're not supposed to be here. And he obviously, okay. But he obviously felt that, just because she's there, she's not part of the plan, that she might even be an exception. And in that case, it kind of shows that he's still got his humanity to a certain extent. He's not a bad person. He is just somebody who has been wronged in a lot of ways by a lot of influential people. And he's had enough of the social hierarchy that they live in where, they are the 1%.
And someone with that much power, though, mentally and physically,
Mm-hmm.
the way he was able to completely control that room full of rich people.
With one clap.
He also killed the former owner of the island and his company. If you can do all that, and it's strange to think about why that he would agree with someone else's suggestion to kill himself as part of the menu, as part of the course, because if it was his own idea, it probably would have been more of a dark, twisted, he's already suicidal thing.
Mm-hmm.
But weirdly, it was thrown out there from one of his staff members.
Yeah.
Halfway,
One of his cooks.
Towards the climax of the film, where she said, "Oh yeah, by the way, the whole killing everybody and all of us dying too is my idea."
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, but why would he agree so readily to?
I think,
unless he already had that plan and she just reinforced it by suggesting it, and he thought, oh, we're on the same page. But it was interesting to try and think about. You have to watch it closely and try and think about why he was so willing to kill himself, especially with how malleable he was, because he was willing to update the menu based on unexpected crazy things that happened throughout the night.
Right.
He was like, This is a impromptu course,
Yeah.
everyone.
Things didn't go according to plan.
I didn't have this on the menu, but it's on the menu now. So
Yeah.
if he had that in mind, it's interesting to think about why he would take that so easily, and why he wouldn't have changed his mind once he found happiness again. Because towards the end, he was one of the characters gave him happiness
Yeah.
in a very profound way
He rediscovered it.
for the first time since he was probably 16, 18 years old.
Yeah.
So if he felt that again, I would, if I were him, I would say everybody else can die.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go flip some burgers or whatever makes me happy, and
Yeah.
see if I can keep this happiness going. Because it seemed like that's all he was missing, was that little bit of, get rid of your enemies, one,
Yep.
but two, find personal happiness again. And he seemed to get it, and then kill himself anyway. And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
I think that he went along with the whole plan to for everybody dying. I think he went along with the suggestion because if you notice, there's a theme throughout the night, and it's everybody. It was essentially, the theme was everybody gets what they deserve, right?
Eye for an eye.
And I firmly believe that he accepted those suggestions because he feels that he has done injustice to his cooks and those in his staff. And so he was like, okay, well, he himself is not, innocent of wronging people. And he believes that, oh, okay, so like in the one scene, he literally let her stab him in the leg because he was like, I'm sorry I hit on you a couple of times.
Yeah, I hit on you very hard.
Yeah,
more
and
than
he
once.
was like, I'm sorry I didn't know when to take no for an answer. And she fucking stabs him, and he's just kind of like, all right. And
I feel like that would have done it. That's good
Yeah.
enough for me.
And-
but he's like, nah. I will say it's a beautiful way that they did.
It is amazingly gorgeous. I mean, the way they set the scene, but I firmly believe that that's why he went along with it, was because he was like, I'm going to get mine, and they're going to get theirs.
So he must see himself as the absolute hand of justice, thoroughly, because
He probably, yeah.
what he's doing is basically saying, my sins can only be cleansed in fire,
Yeah.
dying with all of you.
Yeah.
And probably also in the back of his mind, he didn't want to expend the mental resources it would take to avoid the authorities and not get caught for this, or killed by the rich people that
think-
are getting revenge on him for killing the other rich people. So there's probably elements of that too.
Yeah, I think that probably in the primary construction of the plan, that idea was brought up first and foremost, and he was like, okay, well,
Because we need a way out.
yeah, and he's gonna be like, okay, well, you know what? He took the joy out of cooking for the rest of them, just like the people he's after took the joy out of cooking for him.
Yeah.
And everybody needs to pay for that, and he sees all of them as irredeemable.
So
Right.
cuisine is their god.
Yeah, so
And-
yeah.
Serving meals is their religion.
The menu is what's important.
That's their Bible. They acted very, cultish and religious the whole time. So that was another cool underlying theme there, was that when you don't have some other thing serving as a religion, and you find kind of like a physical or a secular kind of thing, or an experience as a new religion, and you replace it, you could have a whole different experience with humanity than everyone else outside the island in the real world has, because they all acted crazy. Us watching for the, sitting there seeing them all behave that way for the first time
Yeah,
was so much different than seeing them by the end of the film behaving the same way.
absolutely.
Because I feel like the writers did an incredible job, and the director did an incredible job of showing us the way that they behaved and thought throughout the film, so that we actually understood it in
Yeah.
a lot of ways by the end of it. And even though I was upset with the donuts, I still had a good time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I lost my gut instinct, but I still had my head working, and they were understandable by the end of the film.
I think the thing that really determined whether somebody lived or died was whether or not they've caused misery, and whether or not they've had to deal with misery. Because mind you, the only person, the main character, the only person in that movie to cause somebody else happiness was her.
Coincidentally, it was the only one there who had not done some horrible, heinous crime to someone else
Mhm.
that he was aware of.
and
So-
and paid like no expense to even be there. Like she was brought there
Yeah,
to die. Like Guy fully knew, and she had no idea. So like not only was she dragged there with like no notice
Under
of what
false
was happening,
pretenses,
under
yeah.
false pretenses, she was rightfully upset, and you know the chef learned about like who she was and everything.
yeah. I
like
think that was one of the most
like,
important scenes of the whole movie
Yeah.
when he was finding out how much she suffered.
Mhm.
And that's why he took such a quick liking to her. Not because
Yeah.
of any other reason, literally just because of that, because he identified with her suffering, because he had suffered, obviously, from the hands of parents. He had suffered, obviously, from employers and from people around him and
Yeah.
horrible customers and people who paid him to do these special dinners. Treated him like
Mhm.
shit, obviously, for the past 20 years or however many years he's been doing this very thing,
Yeah.
just without the very end part, like the killing thing.
Yeah.
He had been having these dinners and people evidently were treating him like shit.
Yeah.
He was making a ton of money, but it wasn't satisfying him. So that scene between him and her where he was finding out the abuse she suffered from her stepdad, or was it her biological father? I think it was stepdad.
I think it was a stepdad.
He found that out. He was like, wow, I dig this girl. Do you want to be on my team?
Yeah, and I think his way of being like, you don't deserve to die with them, those who cause harm and everything like that. You should be with us. And then throughout the movie, she proceeds to give him reasons to be like, maybe she doesn't deserve to be here and everything. And eventually, at a certain point, she pulls a fucking 1,000 IQ move.
And before we get through real quick, though, on that note, she also he literally said the line at one point, maybe you all should have tried harder to escape. You really didn't try that hard.
You probably could have.
You probably could have and should have. So he said that, and then and it's just like he was almost like taunting them, or even just making a blatant observation, like, man, you guys really didn't try that hard. You really fell for my my whole control thing, didn't you?
Yeah.
So she took that and she was like, well, fuck you, I will get out of here because I'm the only one who knows more about you than the other people here, and I'm also the only one who's really not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And that's what led to that moment where she flipped it, and which audibly impressed us both.
I want to leave that part as a total surprise for our
Yeah.
listeners, because that was
just too good
probably
to
my
spoil.
favorite part in the entire movie. And the thing about it is, like, with the whole like, oh, they could have tried at any moment to like get out, and they probably would have.
Yeah.
The other guests were so far up their own asses that they were in complete denial of the whole situation, even after it escalated.
The
even
one who
after it
brought her
escalated.
there was the worst. I think.
He was a sociopath.
Like,
entirely.
he literally sat there completely ignoring everything around him as if nothing was actually happening. A guy had his like thumb cut off. He was just stuffing his face, acting like, oh, nothing happened at all.
Yeah.
He didn't even notice it, comment on it, anything.
Didn't acknowledge it.
And the only time he showed any fucking fear was when he was told to go hang himself for being
Pretty
such
much.
a douchebag and for being a failed chef.
Yeah.
So he's the ultimate personification of the critic who can't do what he criticizes.
Mhm.
So, the chef was like, all right, make us something since
He
you're
claims
so
to
fucking...
know everything
Yeah.
about food.
Yeah.
He
So
was like, hey,
also he betrayed the chef's trust because he was brought in as an insider. He's like, I want you to, come to this next dinner. I want you to bring someone. I want you to know that you're all going to die. But you can't tell anyone ever at all. So he chose to let the other woman live and hire an escort to come with him instead. And that's what led to the chef and her having a moment, which we had an awesome guy in our screening. There were just 3 or 4 points where he just laughed and clapped.
He was
just like,
clapping.
It was insane. Like, it was blatant, loud, and
Oh, yeah.
obnoxiously funny. But there was a joke about service workers. So, the chef was like, you're an escort. I understand the
He was
horrors
like, I know.
the service industry. And then this guy just goes, I was like, okay, somebody works in service industry
Yeah.
in this theater today.
He
Raise
was like,
your
I
hand.
recognize a customer service worker when I see one.
Yeah, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
2 or 3 points that guy was just going off.
Oh yeah,
he loved
was.
it.
He loved every minute.
But yeah, that was it's deep and complex.
Yeah.
It's smart, and it's funny, and it's got a lot of great dark humor. And I would say that I would easily give it 2 thumbs up. I enjoyed
would,
myself
absolutely,
fully.
and I think that
And there were a lot of
did-
great themes in there too.
It was complex, but delivered simply,
Mhm.
which is my favorite thing ever. Because you still have to work hard to kind of understand and collect the information to really understand what's going on and why.
Yeah.
But it's delivered to you as the movie goes. You just have to pay attention.
And also
Like-
not having a narrator and instead using the menu as the storytelling
Yeah.
narration itself was really smart, because when you use something like food as your theme and as your main story basis, it's like an anchor that holds
Yeah.
the movie together. Everybody has their own experience with food, and everybody understands eating and food.
Yeah.
So when you want to introduce those complex themes, you can do it in a simple way by literally just having each dish and each part of the night have a theme, and then they all tie in together to the main big theme. And it's like it's like a hack for writing a clever story in
Absolutely.
an easier way. It's like, introduce something everybody knows, introduce something they can all understand, a menu, and then use that to execute everything. And it turned out great.
And I'll forever have respect for that man, simply because he used that entire night to humiliate and kind of deal back to those who mistreated him and
Yeah.
those like him for years. I mean, because remember, there was the course where he served them a bread plate with no bread.
Yeah, he was like, this bread has been donated to, a
Yeah.
needy country, and then these assholes are acting
bread is
about
the food of like peasants and everything like that.
Yeah.
Like, lower class people depend on bread, ever since the like way old times and everything like that. He's like, bread is a very valuable thing.
It's like,
And he
grain
was
is
like-
one of the most common.
So tonight, you're not going to eat any.
Yeah. He's like, you guys are all too special for bread. He was
You're
buttering
too
him up.
special for bread.
Buttering him up for the
Yeah.
inevitable chopping down that he's going to do
Yeah.
with them all.
Exactly.
He's like, you guys all think you're too good for other
So-
people, so you're not getting things other people get.
It was just an empty plate with a couple of like, what were those?
They were little flavor, like little,
dips.
kind of like a dip, like a gel. Yeah, I can't remember what he called
Just
them.
like a plate with like 8 little gels, but they're like little circles, like not like serving cups where you actually get the like big enough to dip stuff in, but
Yeah,
they were,
no,
like,
think
using
about a
forks
painting
and
tray with like,
a painting tray,
but
exactly.
way smaller.
Yeah.
So like quarter the size of the usual portion, and it's just like, yeah,
That was my favorite, like, kind of middle finger up moment, where it was like,
especially when those stockbroker scammers were like throwing a big fucking hissy fit. Give me the bread. Oh, you're just gonna give me some bread. You know who I work for. You know who I am. Yeah,
I
you're
didn't want to play this card, but you know who we are, right?
You're okay, sweetheart. Yeah, you're gonna bring me some bread. She's like, I know.
Yeah,
You're not
and
getting
she
bread.
literally leans into his ear and she's like, "You will eat less than you desire and more than you deserve," and then gets up and walks away. And he's just like,
He looked horrified.
"Oh,
It was genius.
yeah,
I loved it.
it was amazing."
I think it was a good movie. I would recommend everyone go try it out. It's in theaters. If you want something good to bring the family to Thanksgiving, holidays, if you guys want to see a movie, watch that. Do not watch Spirited. I sat through probably 15, 20 minutes of Spirited with my girlfriend, and we were out of the door, which is shocking considering it's a Will Ferrell, Ryan Reynolds movie.
Wow.
But we're not big on musicals, so when a musical is garbage, we're out. Like we didn't last long at all. It was funny. It seemed like it was going to be trending in a good direction, but there was a song every 30 seconds on film, and the songs were terrible. They were so cookie cutter, stereotypical, cut and dry, and they lacked so much life. And no matter how much violent dancing that all of the choreographers tried to pull off, oh man, it was garbage.
Violent dancing.
I would love to see a version of that movie with no songs because it was so hard to sit through.
You know what I am excited for?
What's that?
Violent Night.
Violent Night is going to be fucking hilarious.
That looks actually really funny. And I love the fact that they're taking kind of a step away from traditional Christmas movies where like it just gets old at some point. You know, you watch the 25 Days of Christmas and all the same movies playing for generations.
Yeah, Elf and
Christmas
Story.
Christmas Story, yeah. And like, you know, they're classics for a reason. You know, they don't exactly you watch them once a year.
Yeah.
They're not that bad. You get through them and they're still good movies. But I just can't sit and watch more. You know what I mean? I need a break from the typical holiday movie where it's at exactly a minute and 30 or an hour and 31 minutes, you know, the conflict arrives and 20 minutes later a magical solution appears and the movie's over. Like
pretty much.
I can't with that stuff. I mean,
and then there's a lot of the same tired old themes of like the real meaning of Christmas and why you're all destroying Christmas and how we can be a good family at Christmas.
Everybody needs to believe in Christmas.
And I'm like, to be honest, nobody gives a shit. If they gave a shit, things would start changing. Nothing's changing. You're going to have to find other messaging for your Christmas movies.
I just love the fact that it's a different take on a Christmas movie where it's not taking itself serious at all, which is great. No. I mean, I think that it could go places if you take that angle and expand on it a little more with different movies. Like
it looks like it was heavily inspired by Mel Gibson's Fat Man, where a retired Santa, you know, hitmen come try to kill him, and he is way rougher and tougher and more bloodthirsty. And then it's also mixed with some bad Santa in there.
And I love the actor. I absolutely love him.
Yeah, David Harbour. Yeah.
Absolutely.
He's gonna be funny.
I'm a really big fan of like Stranger Things and stuff like that. So I love him as an actor. He's fantastic, and I can't wait because he seems perfect for the role.
Oh yeah, I would not want anybody else right now. To play a horrible Santa.
Yeah, a bad Santa.
We already got, you know, Paul Giamatti as a good Santa for Fred Claus, so I feel like that opportunity has come and gone. But Harbour would do great.
God, I just can't sit and watch the Santa Claus again.
Oh Jesus!
I can't do it anymore. Tim Allen can rest.
That was before my time.
He can take a Christmas off. Honestly, I used to love those movies growing up. But
how many times can you watch it?
Yeah, you watch them so much, and you're like, God, they really have just dragged this out.
They really have.
You know, that's my TED Talk.
That's also one that everybody should have on the radar if you need a good holiday movie.
Absolutely.
And then new in the news is new Twitter 2.0. It's caused a lot of people to throw fits, but honestly, I think it's been one of the funniest things that's ever happened on the platform.
Absolutely.
Musk ran a poll, and he had Donald Trump reinstated on Twitter because most people voted for him, which is interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, I wonder how that happened. So this comes after 15 million people voted. 52% said that they wanted him back. So he's back, and he hasn't tweeted anything yet though, because I think he has an exclusivity deal with with Truth Social, his own platform. So yeah, that's been a funny storyline. Also, CBS News tried to bail and say that they're not going to be doing it anymore. They're going to be monitoring the situation for basically security issues. 48 hours later, they were back. So Elon's posting memes. CBS News, why can't I quit you?
Of course.
And it's pretty much been the same thing, really. Everybody that really liked the old way Twitter ran, where they got to ban anybody who is anywhere, even an inch to the right of them, and they got to say whatever they want, including death threats, and not be challenged on anything. They're seeing that that's going away and is coming back to the center again, where everybody's going to be allowed on Twitter and everybody's going to be allowed to have an opinion, which is really dangerous, I know. But it looks like everybody throwing a fit about Twitter is on fucking Twitter doing it. So, you know, it's very interesting to see the meltdown, but also to see that it's on Twitter. So they're like, I'm leaving Twitter, but first I'm going to tell everyone that I'm not happy on Twitter, and then I'm gonna stick around to see if anybody cares about me leaving Twitter. I'm like, no, dude, nobody cares. Just leave the fucking
Do what
app.
you want.
Just leave that. Like,
Do
it's
what
all
you
these
want.
false promises. It's like all the people saying they would move to Canada in 2016. They didn't do it. And then the only other biggest issue with it so far is that he wants to level the playing field with the verified accounts, but when he opened it up, anyone who subscribed to Twitter Blue for $8 a month would get the verified checkmark, and this led to a bunch of morons impersonating Nintendo, world governments, news organizations, famous individuals, and they would just ever so slightly change their account, and suddenly they would go viral looking like they are, Nintendo posting Naked Mario.
Yeah.
So he's punted the re-release of Blue Verified until there is a high confidence of stopping impersonation, so he says. We will probably use different color check for organizations than individuals, which is what I've been saying all along.
Yeah.
You give the official things like a white verified check mark.
Yeah.
You give, the Twitter Blue verified people a blue check mark.
That would be a good
And
idea.
it's so simple. So, it removes the entire issue. And you still get a bunch of people who get to be, verified.
Yeah.
And you can also even ever so slightly change the badge. So the verified check marks for, being notable in the official description of it right now is this account is verified because it's notable in government, news, entertainment, or another designated category. You could have that look like the flower thing that it does now,
Yeah.
and you could have simple verification for getting Twitter Blue, just a circle. So it's
I agree.
two very simple, what do you call them?
Or have like
Visual changes, cosmetic. Yeah,
Yeah.
two
Or
very
have,
simple
like,
cosmetic changes.
actual verified companies and whatnot have their symbol be like the actual Twitter bird.
Yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
there's ways to do it.
There's a lot of ways they could happen, honestly. I mean, I don't see the harm in either way as long as you can differentiate, prevent fraud and impersonating other people and businesses. You know what business would be kind of believable if people started doing that though? Wendy's posts some off the wall shit.
Wendy's, I can't believe that wasn't a bigger target of the first round
Because
of
people would
verification.
probably believe it, right?
Oh, 100%, because they're crazy. Let's see some of their most recent replies.
Love Wendy's Twitter.
Of course, all these people complain about their fucking food. Oh, I'm sorry that your food looks like shit. Please, DM us. We aren't happy to see that. Yeah, so I can't even see the fun tweets because all these people are bitching and crying
It's
about
literally
their
just
food.
Wendy's apologizing.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
Wait, go up.
It's
There was
peppermint,
one that
though.
started with only a coward.
Only a coward who hasn't tried would say something like that. Take a chance on me. Because somebody was saying, I can't dip my fries in peppermint Frosties.
The regular vanilla frosties will get jelly.
Huh.
Only a coward who hasn't tried. I love Wendy's Twitter, bro.
You really need drones. I dropped $10 to have this flown to me right now. Maybe you need one.
Maybe you.
We're like, yeah, we'll start doing drones. Yeah, Wendy's is crazy.
Yeah.
But people probably thought they were too real, too cool
Yeah,
to mess with.
probably. Yeah. Wendy's would call bullshit.
Also, tickets for Avatar have opened up today. Don't buy any. Please don't buy any.
That'd be interesting.
As a movie theater insider, don't buy any damn tickets to this. Last Christmas was miserable because all of these neck-bearded, crazy Marvel hordes were coming to see the Spider-Man thing, and they trashed every theater across the country to a degree that I've not seen since the olden days of Barbarians. So, if you could, do something nice this Christmas, like get a life, get a family to spend time with, and don't go see Avatar 12 times with every single family member that's spending time with you for Christmas dinner. Just just don't do it this year. Last year, I think, was enough. You better not have anything else left in the tank after last year. And I know my ushers don't, so just stay the fuck home this Christmas. Get a life. Clean your basement that you live in. Just come on. Please don't do it this time.
Either that or just clean up after yourselves.
Yeah, if you do insist upon ruining our Christmas, at least clean your fucking theater. So, final topic of the night, or day, or morning, or whenever you're listening, is Indiana Jones 5. There have been a lot of updates. I've heard several leaks that may or may not be true. One of the more popular ones, not popular meaning good, but popular here meaning most corroborated by the most people, is that the film is a complete mess in the terms of endings and the shooting schedule. So they allegedly added $60 million to the budget because Kathleen Kennedy and James Mangold were having blowout fights on set in a trailer for hours on each shooting day. They would leave the trailers and not speak to each other for the rest of the day. So that's nice. It's always good to hear that your top producer is attempting to ruin the director's attempts to make the damn film that he was paid to make. And then spiraling out from those, you would see that 6 endings were proposed for the film, and by people who claim to have been in test screenings. So one of the biggest endings that was the most hated was that Indiana Jones would somehow kill his younger self, and his goddaughter Helena would take his hat, take his whip, and insert herself into the old films and replace everything you know and love with her, Fleabag face from that show or movie, whatever it was called. It was Fleabag. Replace Indiana Jones with Fleabag, basically. So, yeah, that was one of the most hated possible endings. There are people claiming that Marion appears briefly towards the beginning of the movie. Mutt is mentioned but not seen, which is really good because nobody wants to see Mutt. Harrison looks like he doesn't want to be there the entire movie.
I think Harrison's just done with acting.
Yeah. Mads Mikkelsen is playing a younger version of Toht from the first film, and this was confirmed by Empire Magazine. They released a photo of him and they said young Toht, and I'm like, oh, okay. Antonio Banderas is probably the best part of this movie, and that's probably the only reason his character's blank had any impact. He blanks himself to save Indy and Helena right before they get sent back in time. I'm just trying not to spoil too much.
Yeah.
The main MacGuffin is a golden clock that's a key to an ancient time portal. A group of neo-Nazis is trying to track it down before Indy can. First they go to ancient Rome for a bit, but they go back through and end up in 1933. A significant chunk of the movie is set in 1933. And the trio is Indy, Helena, and younger Indy. So we have a paradox occurring.
I see.
Yeah, it's just... And they said, overall, 2 out of 10. I'd rather watch Crystal Skull 50 times than sit through this atrocity again. I hope Disney does some serious reshoots or just cans the entire movie.
I think they should just can Kathleen.
They really should, because she is ruining everything she can get her hands on.
Everything she touches fucking just falls off.
And James Mangold, the director, did tweet, not true. I already said there have been no screenings, and the photos from the D23 teaser have some faith.
I have no faith when he's working with Kennedy.
Yeah, and then people are now replying with the new information there. Which part exactly isn't true, though? Because this would seem to suggest there's definitely some meddling afoot, if not a flashback. And that brings in the question the whole kill and replace Indy thing. Like, because they literally have the pictures now that's saying they're going to de-age Ford in the movie. They're going to have the young version of Toht. Here's the official Empire Magazine exclusive image of him. They're, the one person says, I'm terrified.
The last line in that image post literally says, for the love of all that's good, please don't do that. Please.
Yeah, they're begging this man not to let Indiana Jones be turned into a fucking Kathleen Kennedy joke. It's just tragic that we've come to a point where fans don't trust the caretakers of our favorite shows. Whether the rumors are true or not, at this point, many of us will not watch Indy 5 until it's 100% confirmed that Indy doesn't die or pass the fedora to another. And I don't blame him. He deserves to retire with dignity.
Yeah,
He's dedicated 40 plus years to this role.
listen, just because somebody has been the main character for so long, and I understand that there are all kinds of movements going on right now. And Kathleen Kennedy is, in my and many others' opinions, the worst kind of feminist. Because her version of feminism isn't feminism at all. It's just replacing anything she can with a female lead, which, in some cases could be good, but, don't take an already established, well loved movie series and turn it into something else entirely and rewrite history of it just to try to make some kind of message or a point that's just been so beaten like a dead horse and drilled into everyone's minds. Like we get it. Like, she wants to send a kind of message that only she seems to understand, and there are specific times and places for those messages to be sent. If she wants to make her own movie, starting with her own, protagonist from the very beginning, then honestly, by all means, go ahead and make the movie. Who knows? People might love it. But taking a well established, well loved series like Indiana Jones and trying to potentially rewind the clock on all of it and just go, oh, well, everything you guys know and love is fake because it's actually this random chick.
And purposely betraying the trust of one of the greatest geniuses who made her something anyway, George Lucas, she wouldn't have a career or 2 feet to stand on in anywhere near this industry if he hadn't brought her on and let her play with all of his toys.
And Lucas hates what everything's become anyway.
Yeah, he gave it up because he didn't want to bother with trying to be in this public spotlight and make these big films at a time in his life where he wants to make private films that only his family and friends are going to watch and enjoy the billions that he's earned and retire and be with his family.
Rightfully so.
And raise his kids. So, he wanted to move on, but, he obviously regrets selling to Disney. And I said back in 2012, that was the worst thing that could have possibly happened.
It is the worst
was
thing.
Disney buying it, because it's going to turn into a complete joke. And, everybody was saying, oh, well, it's going to get more, childlike. And I was thinking, no, it's going to get more, insanely political, and it's going to get more, trashed.
Why?
And with Kathleen Kennedy, without having the superiors to tell her, no, we're not just going to, switch everything out and, say the Force is female and take apart everything that works about the franchise. She gets to run amok, and now that's exactly what she's doing, and she's destroying everything she possibly can.
Preparing the next headline, the fedora is female.
Yeah, literally. The archaeology is for girls and all that stuff. Because it comes from the brand of feminist that thinks that just because they haven't done personally themselves something, that all girls must feel like they can't do it unless they see that girls are better at it than men. And I'm like, that doesn't make any damn sense. If you want a great female archaeologist, watch a Lara Croft movie. Make a Lara Croft movie. She should go and pitch a Lara Croft movie. No, instead she takes this and says, oh, well, what can we do to emasculate and ruin and degrade Luke Skywalker? That's what the 8th movie was in Star Wars. What can we do to emasculate, degrade, and humiliate and make pathetic Indiana Jones? It looks like that's what she's doing here.
It seems like she's purposefully trying to get onto these projects with well-established, well-loved male lead characters and trying to entirely change how everything works in a way that I believe that Kathleen Kennedy doesn't see the prospect of strong male leads as an acceptable thing anymore. I think instead of starting her own thing and going for, like you just said, Lara Croft, if she wanted to make a strong female lead movie, Lara Croft is a fantastic example. But instead, she purposefully goes and chooses to work on a movie like Indiana Jones, where more than likely we already know what's going to happen. She's going to do the same thing that she does with everything else she touches.
and it's going to be taking place in 1969. Indiana Jones versus Nazis during the 1969 space race. Um, and it's interesting. I never could imagine Indiana Jones 1 minute into the 70s or further. Canonically, though, George Lucas in his Young Indiana Jones series,
Yeah.
he had Jones living as a really old one-eyed man into the 90s as a shuffling old little caretaker of sorts of his own little library of archaeological artifacts.
Yep.
And it was pretty funny. It was a cute way to think about what his ending will be. Um, I don't think that she's interested in leaving this open for that kind of ending. I think she's very hell bent on
Changing everything.
yeah, she's taking advantage of his age to say that somebody else could do what you do, better because she's a girl. Which just seems to be one of her biggest themes is that, oh, well, he's great, right? Well, we can do it better. We're so much better. Ray is better than everybody. How'd she earn that? She didn't. She just is better.
And then pretty much directly causes the demise of the last Skywalker, and then kidnaps the name.
Yeah,
And
just
that's how
steals
it
it.
ends.
And it's just, she's the worst character in the whole trilogy. And she got the most attention, the most script love, and the most beneficial
The most
choreography.
plot armor.
Yeah, because I literally watched that horrible throne room scene where guys were just stopping mid-fight, waiting for this dumb bitch to turn around so they could swing at her and get blocked. It was just pathetic. It was horrible choreography. Daisy Ridley obviously is not that great at keeping up with fast-paced combat choreography, and they literally were too lazy to reshoot it or edit it in post to hide that. They just said, "Oh well, we'll just show it." So it was insane. She's not that great, and she's a one-note actress as well. Like she looks nice, and she has a very happy energy when she's not acting. She seems like a great person, but on the screen when the cameras are rolling, she really only has one or two notes, and that's either like a fake anger or a fake air of superiority. And that's how she did Ray. She had no notes, and she had no character depth and no character interest, and there's nothing interesting about her, especially when she had all of the automatic plots, armor and devices, and just, oh, you want to do that? Yeah, you can do whatever you want. You never learned anything about the Force? Well, you can just do a Jedi mind trick, even though you don't know what that is. Like, she wouldn't even have known to try that, much less known whether she could do it or not. She doesn't know what it fucking is, but she just did it because, oh, the old people will laugh, because, it's a mind trick. It's like, oh, God.
Leia was never Force sensitive.
No, now she's Mary Poppins.
And all of a sudden, the story changes where Leia is more powerful than Luke.
Yep, she's the most powerful Jedi now.
Just hung up her lightsaber for
politics.
Why? Yeah, like if she was so powerful, why wasn't she helping Luke raise the younglings and train Padawans?
Yeah.
And if she was there, then how come she didn't try to help Ben? Or I guess Kylo. But
and my big question too is, has Kathleen Kennedy ever actually done anything in her life? Like, what has she actually directed or wrote? No. Her first film as a producer was E.T. So basically, she came in and she co-founded a production company, Amblin Entertainment, with Steven Spielberg and her husband, Frank Marshall. So basically, she married the guy who was making Indiana Jones movies. And she became friends with the guy who was directing them. And she started to work for the guy who created them, George Lucas. And she hasn't done a damn thing in her life. She hasn't written or directed anything. She's quote-unquote produced stuff. And she's been disastrous. So she became president of Lucasfilm simply because she was there when they got bought. She didn't earn the position for anything. She got the position because the guy who made it, the guy whose fucking name is attached to the company, retired and sold it to Bob Iger, who is now back as Disney CEO, by the way. So I'm praying to God that
He does something.
that he fixes what the crazy guy Bob Chapek was doing, and hopefully he also brings back Johnny Depp for more Pirates of the Caribbean movies because they need to rectify that situation
Yes, they
as
do.
quickly as possible. But yeah, she just has like her name plastered to things that she was on the company that tossed some money into a movie. She's never actually made anything from her own mind, and she just kind of finds herself attached to the successes of George Lucas
She
and
takes
Steven Spielberg.
she takes already successful stories and then just changes them.
Yeah,
That's the thing she does. She just latches on like a leech.
I'm looking at her entire filmography, and all of them are things done by better people. So most of these are just she produces movies that Spielberg is making, which means that her company hires people that help make the movie, or she tosses some money in it to distribute it.
Mhm.
She doesn't make anything. The only things that she had ultimate power over, were Star Wars 7, garbage, Rogue One, okay, but the whole thing had to be reshot because of her ineptitude. So the budget for Rogue One doubled because they had to shoot the entire movie, not just parts of it, the entire movie twice. The Last Jedi, the worst Star Wars movie in history. Solo, complete garbage that was disowned by Ford.
Yeah,
The
nobody liked
Mandalorian was the one that she didn't have control over. That is
it. That's
Dave
the one everybody
Filoni.
loved.
Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau have control over that. And surprise, surprise, it's actually heralded, and it stays true to the source material while doing something new. The Rise of Skywalker, unwatchable. So many people that watched 7 and 8 didn't even bother to watch Rise of Skywalker based on the box office return.
That's bad.
Book of Boba Fett, boring. Obi-Wan Kenobi, huge ball drop. Not just his, but also the show. They really dropped the ball on that one. They had a huge opportunity to fill in gaps and make something interesting with one of the actors that is most beloved from the prequel trilogy. And of course, it was all about how little kid Leia is so much better and stronger and smarter than the wise old general and the great legendary Jedi. Yes, and then we have Indiana Jones.
The sheep better not fuck up Ahsoka.
Oh yeah, hopefully she gives Filoni development on that one. But yeah, this is not good. Hopefully Mangold is telling the truth when he says that this is not actually going to happen. You know, that the screenings have not taken place. But I also have to say it's unheard of for a movie of this size with this many uncertainties not to have any test screenings. So
Yeah.
either he's lying because they signed NDAs and they weren't supposed to say there were test
Yeah.
screenings, or there were test screenings and he's desperately trying to fix the movie, because why else would they delay it a year from this July to next June if not to fix huge glaring issues with what the audience was hating?
I just hope that Mangold actually puts his foot down and like fights for the right kind of ending, because I want to be able to go to the theater and enjoy movies the same way I used to be able to, where I wasn't so worried about like, oh, am I gonna walk in and just have to sit through and watch another political story where I know exactly how it's going to end, because you know there's always some kind of message that needs to be sent about like, oh, we need to empower these people, or like, and that's great and all, like the movements themselves are good. You know, the people that go through the movements in a healthy and correct way, and encourage people in a way that they are meant to be encouraged without downing others or changing, you know, changing history.
Yeah, literally.
Like I hate to be this person, but the Woman King, entirely fabricated.
Yeah.
The tribe were horrible. I'm not even going to get into it. But Viola Davis entirely fabricated all, and it says based on true events.
Yeah, that's very
That
misleading.
didn't happen at all. None of it. The whole movie was a lie. That tribe wasn't even full of great warriors. They lost every battle that they fought, and they used modern weapons.
Yep.
Like, they lost every battle. And also, they themselves were responsible for a large percentage of African slave trade.
Yeah, that was
They
one of the biggest
enslaved and
whitewashes
sold
in the
their
whole
own
thing. Yeah.
people. And
They
they still
pretended
do.
that they were anti-slavery the whole movie. I'm like,
And
what
they
the
still
hell?
do, is the crazy thing.
Yeah.
That tribe that the movie focuses on is some of the worst people on earth.
Yeah.
They still do it. They still enslave and sell their own people, and they have fought time and time again to protect slavery. It's crazy that you can slap based on true events on something like that and make a movie that entirely fabricates truth and history in order to make a certain group of people that actually are not good people somehow the heroes and look good.
That's like making a movie about the Auschwitz trials and basically like they were all innocent actually because they didn't do anything wrong. I'm like, the fuck?
Yeah, like
I feel like the gassing of hundreds of thousands of people was a little bad.
right.
And I'm like, no, they didn't do that,
And,
man. They were actually
it's-
ahead of their time.
It's crazy.
Ugh.
Like that film is an absolute abomination. Because all they had to do was not put that it was based on true events. Make it about a not real tribe.
Yeah.
And it would be a fine movie.
Yeah, just some action
Like,
adventure
yeah,
where they tried to do the right thing.
Yeah. But instead they had to go and try to make it like, oh, well, this was actually based on a real tribe, and these events like actually are based on true events and everything.
There's this
It's
big
like,
anti-imperialist
it did
thing.
not happen.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like and for anybody who liked the movie, that's great. I'm glad you went and you were enjoying your time. You were entertained. But it makes me so mad that just for the sake of sending that message that it's like, yeah, these like women were incredible and everything like that. And it's like, you can send that message, make a movie about it. That's great. But don't
lie about real ones.
Don't lie
that were
about
actually
real
horrible.
things and
Yeah.
real people that existed, and turn it into some kind of encouraging success story about like stuff that couldn't be farther from the truth.
For all
I mean,
the
it's
people that
crazy.
go around crying about misinformation and disinformation, I mean, that's a pretty good source right there.
Right.
Making movies that people are going to take at face value because you say based on true events or a true story. You know, don't do that. That's like putting that in front of Benjamin Button. Like,
Right.
based on a true story. Oh, really? I might get that too. Like, no, it's a fucking fake story. It was based on a book, not a true story.
Crazy.
It's like, so I mean, here's to hoping Kathleen Kennedy gets fired fast as possible. She is a cancerous tumor
In the film industry.
especially within poor Lucasfilm and Disney, because
She's gonna tank it.
those products. Oh, she already did. She destroyed Star Wars.
She did. I mean,
They have not released a theatrical movie for Star Wars since then because they need a break and they lost so much money on the 9th one, and the 8th one was so horribly received that they don't want to risk. Rian Johnson claims he has a trilogy down the pipe. Like, fuck that, no. Not after what you did to the 8th one.
All of the loyal fans of Star Wars that existed beforehand, they're not going to care anymore. Because the movies that were Star Wars don't exist.
And they're also being lied about in the media because if you dislike the new Star Wars movies for any reason other than, you know, well, I just don't like science fiction, then you're suddenly some kind of weird bot, alt-right troll. You know, it's all this bullshit. They just
Crazy.
So now they're alienating specifically, purposely, all their fans because they just call them, you know, an alt-right troll if they don't like the fact that this character is a Mary Sue, and you know, because it's sexist to say that a female character is written horribly. It's fine to say that male characters are trash. And it's like, there's the double standard once again. She will happily make the most lazy female character and then say it's sexist to criticize that, but then she'll go around destroying all the, you know, male characters that no one had a problem with. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with her?
Well, anyway, after
Besides that,
after our rant that has exceeded much longer than we planned, that's about all I have to talk about for today. I don't know if you have anything else, but our time's running a little short.
all I gotta say is hunker down, stay safe, but if you want to have some fun, go check out Twitter if you're not already on there. I'm there at Reviews Gonzo. I post updates there regularly. I do polls and fun stuff and giveaways. So check it out. It's a lot more free than it used to be. So
And
have some
you can
fun.
find me at Cloud1271. I'm there to answer any questions or whatever else you may want to share, thoughts, feelings, questions, comments, concerns. I'm not blue verified, but that's just kind of beside the point. Look for the SpongeBob photo.
Yeah,
SpongeBob
SpongeBob is your
fancy
verification.
SpongeBob, yeah. All right, well, thank you guys for listening. It's been a while since I've been on here, but it's great to be back. So join us again next time.
I appreciate you all. Remember, that's life.